The term rape culture has been coined by feminists to show the ways in which society blamed victims of sexual assault and normalized male sexual violence. In Zalewski's passage, Why Can't a Woman Be More Like a Man?, we found that the overarching theme was rape culture and how these perpetuated notions can harm individuals who act outside of society's expectations of them. So we consider whether rape culture should be deemed a threat to human security. But what is human security? At a minimum, human security means freedom from violence and from the fear of violence.
So who are the victims of this rape culture? Women are commonly seen as victims of sexual violence. This is based upon society's constructed gender roles that portray them as the inferior sex and weak in comparison to men. Furthermore, when women go against these stereotypes, the blame is placed on the woman for the violence that she has endured. For example, when recounting her sexual assault in a courtroom setting, a woman must be seen as affected by the trauma and defeated, instead of aggressive and angry about the situation. Zalewski discusses how rape culture is structured in a way that creates a hierarchy of victims, each with their own imagined labels attached. For example, a woman who has had many sexual partners, commonly known as the slut, is less likely to be believed than an 80-year-old woman or a 4-year-old child, even though the sexual assault had nothing to do with her sexual past. Reports show that the number one thing convicted rapists look for in victims is vulnerability, not appearance. Regardless of age or physical type, a woman is likely to be assaulted if they fit into stereotypical gender roles and seem weak, fragile, and vulnerable.
But what about men? Society's viewing of women as victim automatically typecasts men into the role of perpetrator. With the continued belief that women are vulnerable, society allows for a normalization of violence to occur. Society has become so desensitized to rape and its harmful implications on women that we almost see rape as a naturally occurring part of life that a woman must go through. This is because society has accepted the notion that males are inherently violent and are unable to control their sexual desires. Rape culture and notions of male normalized violence are apparent in the TV shows we watch, the jokes we make, and the songs we can't help but sing along to, such as Blurred Lines of Consent as told by Robin Thicke. This makes it easier for men to get away with their crimes because it's just boys being boys. For example, university campuses propose self-defense classes for female students on the grounds that this is the best way to prevent sexual violence. It focuses on teaching women how to detect risk in situations that could lead to sexual assault and how to defend themselves if necessary. This portrays the idea that men cannot be stopped, and a woman has to take ownership of protecting her own body.
Society's normalization of male sexual violence tells women that no matter what precautions they take to stop rape from occurring, it will always be their fault and they must be blamed for not preventing it. For example, women can't drink too much at a party because she must be watching out for the male who is staring at her from across the room. And a woman must refrain from walking home in the dark as this makes her easy prey for those who might commit sexual assault. This shows that society puts the onus completely on the woman when sexual assault occurs, both as the victim and as the one to blame.
Is rape culture a threat to human security? We believe that it is. Women are living in constant fear of its effects, believing that they might be the next victims of sexual assault and there's nothing they can do about it. Acts of sexual violence are seen as inevitable and unavoidable. Although men are typically the perpetrators, they are not often blamed for the acts that they commit. So when women are victimized and forced to endure a sexual assault, they still must live in fear. Fear that no one will believe their story because of their past, what they happen to be wearing, or even where they came from. Many women live in constant fear of sexual assault and are seen as the only ones who can protect their own bodies from violence. So we ask, how can women be free from the fear of threat and violence if they are repeatedly told that the only solution is the preventative measures that they take upon themselves?
On a global scale, rape has become a threat to international security. The United Nations Security Council unanimously voted for a resolution that attempts to address the use of sexual violence against civilians in armed conflict. When passing UN Resolution 1820, the Security Council noted that women and girls are particularly targeted by the use of sexual violence, including as a tactic of war to humiliate, dominate, instill fear in, disperse, and/or forcibly relocate civilian members of a community or ethnic group. Although we do not contend that women are the only victims of rape, as men can be targeted as well, women are disproportionately affected by rape culture. This is evident as the international community sees rape culture as an issue that must be discussed and addressed. In conclusion, here are some questions to think about.